Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Tessie and today we are going to be making this top. Is a corset with a zipper at the back. If you're new to the channel, you're welcome. If you're yet to subscribe, kindly do that and let's get right into the video. So I have my pattern papers. As you can see, I have my chest line, bust point, under bust, half length and my top length. So what I did next was to take my shoulder divided by 2. I chalked it down and connected my armor curve. I came down with 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and that is it there. So if you're following my channel, you know how I got these lines. So what I'll be doing next is taking my yoke. So you determine how deep you want the yoke to be. For me, I'll be working with 7 inches. So I chalked 7 inches and connected it into a straight line. What I did next was to take my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. I added half inch to it, which gave me 4.5. I chalked 4.5 and I'm going to be chalking 4.5 all the way down, then connected it into a straight line. So what I'll be doing next is taking my dart. So for the dart, I'll be using 1 inch on both sides. So I chalked 1 inch at this point and also 1 inch on this other point. I connected it all the way down to the top length. Then I'll be connecting this dart leg to the bust point line, coming down by half inch to eliminate pointiness. So I'm just going to connect my line to that half inches. So guys, what I'll be doing next is chalking 1 inch on both sides at the chest line for my dart. So at this side of the pattern, I'm going to be chalking 1 inch and on this side 1 inch as well. So what I'll do is at the bust point, I'll come up by half inch and connect it to that point. So I'll just connect my lines together. So guys, on the center front at the chest line area, I'm going to come down by 1.5 inches. So you have to determine how deep you want that area to be. I don't want mine too deep because I don't want this corset too revealing. So I came down by 1.5. Then from that 1.5 inches, I'll come in by half an inch. Then I'll connect the lines together. Then from that point, I'll connect it to the bust point line. Then from my bust point, I'll connect to my under bust using my curve ruler. So what I'll do next is to give this part a sweetheart effect. So I'm just going to use my ruler to do that. So guys, after connecting my lines, we're good to go with this side of the cup. So we'll move to this other side of the cup. So what I'll do is check the difference between the bust point and the under bust. So I place my tape at the bust point and the difference between the bust and the under bust is 3 inches. I'll be adding extra half inch to it because the bust is fuller on this side. So from this point, I chalk 3.5 inches. So what I'll do next is to connect from that point all the way down to the bust point line and then connect to the chest line. So just watch what I'm doing. So after connecting, I'll just blend this into the armhole. So I'll go ahead now to blend this cup into the armhole. So we're good to go with this part. I'll take out the areas I'll be taking off. Then I'm going to be placing my measurement and replacing back the dart I took. So at the chest line, I'll place my bust measurement divided by 4. So at the chest line, I placed my bust measurement divided by 2, replaced back the dart I took, and also added 2 inches for my sewing allowance. At the half length, I'll place my waist measurement divided by 4, replace back the dart I took, and also add 2 inches for my sewing allowance. So I'll connect from the chest line to the half length. After connecting my lines, what I'll be doing next is at the top length, I'll be placing my hip measurement divided by 4. So at the top length, place your hip divided by 4. My hip divided by 4, I chalked it down. I replaced back the dart I took, and I'll also be adding 2 inches for my sewing allowance. So after doing that, I'm just going to connect from the half length to the top length. Then I'll blend that point. So what I'll do is at this top length, I'll come up by 2 inches. I don't want that down part too sharp. So I came up by 2 inches. And from that 2 inches line, I'm just going to curve it in. So I use my curve ruler, then just curve it in. So I'll take out these areas. I'll take it out. We're good to go. So what we'll be doing next is working on the neckline. So for the neckline, you have to determine how exposed you want it to be. So from this point, you can slant it in this way, or you can just slant it straight. My client doesn't really want it revealing. She wants to wear it to church, so we want to do it a bit decent. So what I'll do is from this point, I'm just going to slant it all the way down here. So mine is not going to be as revealing as the one on the screen. So from this point, I just slanted all the way here. So we are good to go. I'll label this as my front yoke. What we'll be doing next is working on the, it's a three-part corset. So we have to divide this. So from this point, I'm just going to come down by 1.5 inches. So you determine how wide you want the three-part corset to be. So I came down by 1.5 inches, as you can see. And on this other part, you also come down by that same 1.5 inch. So I came down by 1.5. Then at this point, you come down by 2 inches. So you add half inch to it. And also here, you come down by 2 inches. So I'm just going to chalk 2 inches at this point and also 2 inches at this other point. So what I'll do is connect my dots together. So I'll just connect them together just like this. So guys, you can see that it is really simple to make. So this is what it looks like, as you can see. So make sure to label your line so you don't get confused. So I labeled this as my up, that's 1A, and I labeled this as my 1A as well. Then I labeled this as the down part. So I also went ahead to label the second cup as up, and I labeled it as 2A. So guys, just go ahead now to label your cup so that you don't get confused. Make sure to label the up and down. So guys, we are done with the front part of the blouse. I'll go ahead now to cut out my pattern. You can see that it is really easy to make a three-part corset. Please, if you are yet to follow this channel or like this video, kindly do that and let's get right back. So I'm trying to cut out the pattern, so just watch what I'm doing. So guys, after cutting out my pattern, I'll go ahead now to cut out the cup area. I'm just cutting out the top part of the cup. After cutting it, I'm going to be using my sellotape to just hold them together. So you hold this side together, we are good to go. So this becomes one now. So this is what it looks like. So guys, after cutting out the pattern, this is it. So we're working on the back. So for the back, I'm going to be adding a zip to it. As you can see, I have my zip allowance. I came down to my shoulder line, chest line, half length, and my top length. So I went ahead to quickly label my lines. So I came down to my neckline, came down by 1 inch, slanted my neckline, and then curved out my armhole. So what I'll be doing next is placing my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 plus half inch. So my nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus half inch is 4.5. So I chalk 4.5 on all the lines and connected it into a straight line. On my waistline, I'll be taking half inch on both sides for my back darts. So I chalked half inch on both sides. Then I'll connect it all the way up. I'll connect it before I get to the chest line and also connect it all the way down. Connect it all the way down. So after doing that, I'll be placing my measurement. So at the chest line, my bust measurement divided by 4. I'll chalk it down, then add 2 inches for my sewing allowance. At the waist, my waist measurement divided by 4. I'll replace back the half inches that I took, that's 1 inch. Then I'll be adding 2 inches for my sewing allowance. I'll go ahead now to connect from the chest line to the waistline. What I'll do next is chalk my hip measurement divided by 4. So I chalk the hip divided by 4 plus 2 inches for my sewing allowance. So I'll go ahead now to connect from the waist to the top length. So after connecting my line, this is what it looks like. I'll also come up by 2 inches. We came up by 2 inches on the front pattern. You come up by 2 inches for the back too. After coming up by 2, just connect it in this way. So I'll be taking this part off. So guys, for the zipper bulge, I'm just going to connect my waistline. So go ahead, connect your waistline. And then from that point, I'll come in by 1 inch. So I came in by 1 inch, then slanted all the way up and slanted all the way down. So I use my ruler to do that. So guys, we are good to go. For the neckline, I'm going to be using 2 inches for the depth. So I chalk 2 inches and then use my curve ruler to connect the lines. So I'll go ahead to cut out my back pattern. So guys, after cutting out the pattern, this is what the front and the back pattern looks like. So I'll quickly cut out my fabric. So I've gone ahead to cut out my fabric, as you can see, and I added some allowance all around the pattern. So make sure to add your allowance, and I also added paper stay on my main fabric and also added on the cups as well. So we'll be working on the cup part of the blouse first. So I'm just going to take out my pattern. You can see that I added paper stay on the cups and I labeled my pattern so I don't get confused. I have my up and down and number two up and down as well. So I'll be joining one and two together, one and two together. So I'm just going to take the first cup, join it with the second cup, take this cup as well, join it with the other cup. I'm going to place them right side facing each other and stitch using half inch all the way down. I'll do the same thing for this cup as well. Place it and stitch. After stitching, this is what it looks like. I've gone ahead to give it a very good press, as you can see. So you can see that I added sewing allowance all around this part. I'm going to be joining this part. I labeled my up and down. So I'll place it on the cup this way, right side facing each other. Then stitch using half inch all the way down to the point. And I'll also do the same thing here. I'll place it and stitch all the way down to this point as well. So after doing that, this is what it looks like. I'm going to give it a very good press. And after pressing, I've gone ahead to stitch my cups, my already made cup. I do this in most of my videos. So I'm just going to place it in this way. Go ahead, pin it down to hold it in place and then stitch all the way down to this point. You do the same thing for the other cup as well. Place it, pin it down and then stitch all the way down. So guys, for the center front, you can see I added sewing allowance all around. I opened it up and you can see on the screen that there is net at this side of the fabric. So I've gone ahead to cut out my net and what I have here is like 4 inches. So what I did was to place it together this way and then I'm going to be using a matching thread to stitch all around. After stitching, this is what it looks like. So I'll be joining the sides to it. So I'm just going to place them this way and join them right side facing each other, stitching using half inch all the way down. I'll do the same thing for this other side as well. I'll place it together and then stitch using half inch. After stitching, this is what it looks like. I'll go ahead now to attach my cup to it. So go ahead, attach your cup to it, place them this way and then stitch the cup with the fabric. Stitch using half inch all the way down. Do the same thing for this cup as well. So guys, after stitching my cup to it, this is what it looks like, as you can see. So I'm just going to give it a very good press. And for the lining piece, I've joined my lining and I also added boning to the lining. I just added few boning to my lining. I don't really want too much boning and I use the plastic boning on the lining. So what I'll do next is to add my yoke to the main fabric before adding my lining. So I'm just going to place the yoke this way. I doubled my yoke. So I went ahead to like double the yoke. I'll place them this way and then place the yoke on the fabric and then I'm stitching at that point. I'll stitch all the way down and also stitch on this point as well. So I'll go ahead now to stitch. After stitching all the way to this point, then you place your lining on it and then you run a stitch and also stitch the down part and then turn it out. So after doing that, this is what it looks like. I'll give it a very good press. I'm going to give it a very good press and then we're good to go with the front. Then for the back, I'm just going to take out my pattern. After taking out my pattern, what I'll do next is to fold it into two and take the back dart. I'll take the back dart and also take the dart for the lining piece as well. After doing that, I'll place the lining on the main fabric, stitch the neckline, the zip allowance area and also the down part. I'll do the same thing for the other part as well. So guys, after doing that, I've gone ahead to close the zip allowance area for now, as you can see. So what I'll be doing next is placing the front and the back together. So I'll go ahead now to place my front and my back together this way. After placing the front and the back this way, what I'll be doing is stitching on the shoulder area using half inch. After stitching, go ahead, pin your front and the back together and then shape the dress. After shaping, you can see this is what it looks like. I'm going to give it a very good press. So guys, what we'll do next is to cut out the sleeve. So for the sleeve, I made my armhole a bit big. So I didn't see any chalk at the moment. So I just used my biro to sketch it out. I'm sorry. Then after sketching it out, I'll go ahead now to cut. So what I did was to make the armhole a bit big because I want to pleat it to get back my armhole. I want some pleat around the sleeve. So guys, I notched the middle part and then fold my fabric to cut out the second sleeve. So just go ahead, cut out your basic sleeve pattern. So the length of the sleeve I'm working with is 9 inches. So guys, after cutting out my sleeve, I notched the middle part. So what I'll do next is to cut out my lining. So before turning with the lining, I added paper stay on the sleeve just to make it a bit firm. So guys, I'll go ahead now to attach my sleeve to the blouse. So I'll go ahead now to do that. And then after doing that, this is what it looks like. As you can see, I'm going to give it a very good press and then attach my zipper to it. So I'm using this zip for it. I'll go ahead, attach my zipper and show us the end result. So guys, this is the final result and this is what the top looks like. As you can see, I'm really liking it. I'm just going to make a trouser to pair it with. And then for the back view, this is what it looks like. Hope this tutorial was helpful. Please do not forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, drop a comment. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook at Sorites. Bye. Mwah.